what is needed for a visual impairment may not be required for a cerebral palsy person. So as a result of which the special education setup came into existence, because it was not at that point of time, it was not gelling with the so-called regular schools.
Hmm. Right. And
So
how is it?
everything, right from their furnitures, right from their requirements, right from their audiovisual education system, the teaching method varied also, right? Not like a regular classroom situation.
Right. So how is the layout of a special education class?
Basically, the classroom conditions is not like 25-30, which we have in a regular classroom. It is 1:10. The ratio is one teacher is to 10 students of the more or less same disability sector. So I
Right.
cannot have a blind and a mentally retarded child all together, which as a special educator, I can handle. But then there are other difficulties related to it. So usually the ratio is 1:10.
Right.
Technically, we go into a classroom situation to teach you students.
Right. Right. So, in your teaching style, how is it changed from the normal teaching style of 30 students or even more? Now I'm hearing the class limit has kept on expanding. Uh, my physiotherapy college per classroom students are 100 now.
Yeah.
So the classroom keeps expanding. So in the teaching styles of a special educator, what do you find different?
Basically, different is the teaching method itself. You cannot have the same content or the same speed for like we have in a regular classroom. Teacher walks in, uses audio visual system, has a specific portion to be completed at a specific time. For with special education, it varies. Some child is reading speed is like 3 words, some has got 5 words, some has got the entire paragraph. So it varies from each child. As a result of which the teaching method varies. The grasping power is different of each child in a special classroom.
Right.
A regular classroom, it is considered rather that every child will understand at the same pace. If
Right.
they can't manage, they go home and study and then complete the portion. But here it is not the case.
Right.
The
So,
grasping power varies, as a result of which the teaching method also varies.
right. So we were just discussing, me and Jasmine, about vocational education and academic education. So if you could just throw some light on both these things and what.
Yeah, vocational basically, see, when we talk about, since our topic is importance of education of special needs children, right? So what I consider is basic education is a must. It has to be there for every child, come what may, whatever is the disability.
What do you
We will
consider
not
as basic
consider the
education?
disability factor, but we will see that the basic education is provided to all the children.
Right. So what do you consider as basic education? Like, if you could just.
I realize, I realize is all the students should get a basic education, like 3 hours of learning, reading, writing, and mathematics, the basic ones.
Right.
Okay, considering the after that, looking at the intellectual capacity, if the child has the potential to go further, the child
Right.
definitely should go further. But if the child does not have the capacity to say, reach to a certain level of education, then a vocational education should be provided to these students,
Okay.
so
And
that
what is included in vocational education, if you can?
basically these are skill development, what we call it as skill development. So when we were trainees as students, we were given various kind of vocational training, which was applicable at that point of time, that is 25 years back. But now those are invalid, they are obsolete now. So we have to think about the
Right.
vocational training that the child may be given at the present situation, considering the possibility of employment that can be given or can be created.
Right. Do you feel the importance of IQ testing uh,
Not really. I honestly
in
believe
special education?
IQ testing does not help you directly. It may give you a support kind of a thing, but it doesn't really matter. The more exposure the child gets, the child progresses better. Even
Okay,
with a
so
normal IQ, if a person is consolidated in a specific area or level of understanding, he will definitely not grow. So IQ really does not matter. If the child has the potential or the ability or the innate desire to learn, and given the circumstances and the situations created, he'll definitely progress.
okay, so so my
Because
adjoining
just to give
question,
an example,
yeah,
a child was diagnosed with 45 IQ.
okay,
Okay, he was with me for 4 years, but he could attempt national open school. So do you think 45 IQ is not enough to attempt a national open school? It doesn't matter. The exposure he got in order to appear for that examination, prepare himself for life.
NIOS you meant he appeared for the NIOS open
Yes,
schooling.
national
Oh,
open
right,
school is
right,
national. Oh, yes,
yeah,
NIOS.
right, right.
Yes, open schooling system.
Okay, correct, correct. So we have had parents asking us, that the child does not have basic understanding, like you mentioned about basic arithmetic and formation of sentences, and they come to us already doing the IQ, and the IQ has come low, especially the mild mental retardation children. So what the parents say is, and I think both Itashri ma'am and Arati ma'am can answer this. When they approach schools, when they approach normal schools or special schools, they are sandwiched, because what happens is the mild MR child feels like he is amidst children who have severe mental retardation, severe intellectual disability. Whereas if they go opt for a normal school, they are told that the IQ is not normal. So how do you tackle this dilemma? And this question goes out to both Iteshri ma'am and Arti ma'am.
Sanket, I missed out. The audio was bad. Your last part that you were saying. When they come to regular schools, what is it
Yes,
that
so
happens?
when they come to regular schools, their IQ is not normal IQ. So sometimes the schools send them off saying that the IQ has to be normal. Mild mental retardation children find it difficult to get into the normal schools. So
Okay. So, is Itishri answering or should I answer?
No, Arti, you take the chance first, then I'll
All right.
communicate.
Well, very honestly speaking, first, good evening to everybody who's present here. Um, look, uh, any child with any disability to approach a regular setup is first a mental fear that I am going to get rejection. Immediate. You come with that kind of fear that I am going to get rejected. It's not so. It's just not so. Um, there are times when I have been approached by so many children who are with severe disabilities, or let's say with disabilities like a hearing disability or even a visual disability. I haven't sent them back. Okay. Now many people say, but that's you. That's not the other schools. Other schools will not, but from the gate, they will not be allowed to be in. They will be asked to leave. Uh, I still feel that that is something that you should not fear for a very simple reason, because uh, every school mandatorily is supposed to take 10% of their total admission numbers as children with special needs into their schools. Okay. So no harm in trying. No harm in trying to figure out whether it's going to work for you or it's not going to work. But here, Itishri, I beg to differ only on one point, that uh, we do need IQ testing, because that is one of the processes mandatory for regular schools. When we accept even the form of a child with needs, we need to understand what the IQ level is, because if there are no special educators at school, the teachers need to be prepared beforehand as to how much and what preparation they need to do for their for the new child that is coming into them. So the IQ testing or a very, very, I would say, a detailed test report certainly helps, because then the clinical psychologist from her end gives a lot of information as to what kind of help the child can be given in a regular setup. So I feel that one, none of the parents should fear taking their children to a regular school to find out if they would be given admission or no. Uh,
Right.
Maximum, what will happen? You'll be said politely. You'll be asked to go back. That's all that will happen. Nothing else. But you would have tried. And if you're a mild to slightly moderate case, you may be taken in. Children with learning disabilities, borderline autism spectrum are taken in. We haven't sent them back. In fact, I would say that quite a few schools are now open to taking care. And in fact, all CBSE schools, it's mandatory to have a special education cell. You're supposed to have it. A resource room is compulsory in all schools for children with disabilities, learning disabilities. So, mild to slightly moderate, everybody is welcome.
Right. Right.
There should no fears should be there that will be sent back. That
Yes.
should happen.
Eteshri ma'am.
Yeah,
you
I just
can
wanted to add that basically when a mild or a moderate student comes to school for admission,
Yes.
they are not given provisions. You know, SSC does not give them any kind of provision. And
Right.
like learning disability has some provisions, some concessions. As a result of which most of the parents are skeptical also to join the regular mainstream school, which I have found, because they find that since they do not get concessions or they do not get some benefits,
Right.
they would rather have their child in a special school and they let them learn there, rather
Right.
than putting them in a regular school and helping the child to cope with other situations like normals. We all manage.
and
Right.
also I think the special schools have the therapy part also included.
Yeah,
So the special education and the therapy they get under one roof.
they get under one roof, right?
Right. 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 Correct.
And for intellectually impaired, one of the thing is they need repetitive practice in order to concretize any kind of learning, which in a regular school they are finding it difficult to get. They need practice over and over again in order to make the learning happen. Whereas in regular school, what is happening? They have a syllabus to complete, they have a curriculum to complete, and
Yes.
as a result of which they are going at a much faster pace than the child's ability to acquire.
Yes. So I think you just touched upon important point, Eteshri ma'am. I have two cases as examples. So we can talk in terms of examples, so the problem solving becomes little faster. So there is a 12-year-old girl who is at one of the schools in Ghatkopar, the normal school. Her IQ was somewhere between, say, 55 and little up. So
Okay.
it was like moderate mental retardation. The parents wanted her to be assimilated into a normal school,
Okay.
so that she can interact with other children her age, and she can learn few basic things, and then they can decide later on. And so the thing that happened was this child was better at communicating. Her communication skills were poor when she started off going to the school, because she was very, very shy. But her skills improved as she passed the standards. And in these normal schools, they keep on passing, they keep
Yeah.
on taking the students to the next standard. But what happened is we came to realize, like, we had taken help of a social worker to fight with the school so that they assimilate. But the issue was that she reached like sixth standard or something, and she was not even able to do the basic maths,
Yeah.
basic addition. So what was happening is, we I felt that we pushed her too much to get assimilated into a normal school. Now the communication and the peers and all that developed, of course. But then, because of her intellectual disability, the learning process, which is so critical, at the early age, that was somewhere she could not cope up with the speed. So that is one example where intellectual disabled child could not cope up with the speed in the normal school.
Yeah.
The other example is of a mild mental retardation, a child who has, he's
Syndrome.
8 years old, he's a boy, and he was absorbed into a special school. And mother keeps saying that the special school is not for him.
Yes, sir. Then they ask some everybody for you.
Yes, yeah, I muted. So that child's mother is saying he has capacity. So basically the child had hemiparesis. So he had motor wise also he was quite capable, and intellectually also he was quite better. So now the parents were asking that he is into a special school, but we feel that he should be put in a normal school, because his grasping is fast, his intelligence is there. So in both these scenarios, so let's call the first child as the girl child and the second is the boy. So how would you this is a scenario for both of you, Aarti ma'am and Itashri ma'am. So Itashri ma'am, you can just
so basically looking at the girl child.
Yeah,
I am looking at her, right? She's 12 years old, like you rightly said. So
right.
has she, like she technically she should have completed primary education and moved on to secondary, right? But
Right.
looking at her cognitive ability, she is not functioning at the way she should be functioning at a 12-year-old should be. Right. So looking at the entire thing, she can be trained basically into not all the subjects together, because there are 8 to 10 subjects. So the child with having a moderate IQ or a little maybe upper moderate IQ, so for her to absorb all the 8 to 10 subjects is going to be critical. It's not going to be so easy for her. She has to really, I don't understand with what pace can she manage, but the best, yes, when she's in a regular school, her question paper can be modified, her syllabus can be cut down. Instead of having all the entire 12 chapters for a subject, she can be given six chapters to complete, and her paper can be modified. So that's an additional task for the regular schools, which at times I feel they don't want to take it up, because just for one child you have to set one paper.
Yeah.
It is quite taxing for the teacher.
Correct.
60 children in the class.
Right.
So that's an additional task for the teachers, which many of the teachers are very reluctant, because I've been associated with many schools, and they find it very reluctant. They say, we have to finish our portion, we have got other responsibilities, blah, 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 blah. So for just one child, they have to set one extra paper, which they are not willing to. But if they are willing to do it, this child definitely should go ahead and complete her education.
So can I say something here?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Very true, Itishri, that in schools with large numbers inside its classrooms, the teachers would come up with these excuses for these children with needs. And yes, children with slightly beyond the moderate spectrum will have difficulty in a regular setup with 35, 40 children in a classroom, because everybody doesn't accept them very openly and easily. And the teacher has a tough time controlling the class environment also. But I think it's here that the actual work of, let's say, an NGO like yours, okay, an organization like yours, comes in, that when you have a PR, all right, who works on your behalf and is giving charge of, let's say, 5 schools or 6 schools where these children are going. And that PR, in coordination with the school coordinators, the school principal, the school head, takes the meetings, ensures that whatever support can be given to the school is provided from the end of the parent. Okay, because you become the parent. Since the parent has approached you and your PR is going, you become the parent. So if you coordinate this and liaison this kind of a gentle hand-holding and support the teachers with, let's say, you employing a special educator who works on getting question papers ready for the pre-primary section, the primary section, and the secondary section. And you tell the teacher, we will provide you with a basic skeleton of the question paper as per your needs. Okay? Our educator will sit in the school and make the question paper in front of you on your computer. We will not take it home. We don't know what you are going to do. Or I give you 4 to 5 question papers. You make a choice, whichever paper you want to give the child for an exam. So in no way you are going to have a paper that will get leaked out to the child. Okay, you prepare the question paper in the format that you know will assist the child to be able to complete the paper and gain some marks. That kind of a help, if is offered to these schools, you offer that kind of support, the children will not be sent back.
Right.
See, the problem is that, yes, sorry, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So I had a
please,
question, ma'am. So when the parents approach a school for admission, so
Yes.
who do they come in contact with first for the
So
enrollment?
So you enter into the school, and if you you take the entry into the office, you have the admission officer. Okay, you have the
Okay.
receptionist, you have the admission officer. Now,
Okay.
when you seek an appointment with the admission officer, you should ask to meet the principal directly. This is my advice to all parents. Okay,
Okay.
because the admission officer may not be approachable or open to your problem. She may
Right.
not have an answer. She may not be trained. She may not be trained to take care of your queries. Okay. Maybe the
Okay.
head of the school is pro helping. You never know.
Correct. Correct.
Till you don't ask for that kind of an appointment, you will not be able to get your help that you seek.
And they would get appointment if they ask
Why?
for it.
Of course. No principal will say no. Why will
Okay.
any principal send a parent back without
Right.
actually understanding the situation of the parent?
True.
On the
Right.
basis of that, the principal can say that I don't have a resource room, or I don't have a special educator, or my management does not support special education. Then the principal may give you whatever reason for not giving admission may be there. But at least you will have your first interaction. You will be able to tell her. You will be able to take your child to meet her. She'll
Right.
be able to physically see the visibility, and whether she'll be able to approach it or she'll not be able to approach it. So
Right.
you have, and if at that point your liaison officer is with her, it's
Right.
all the more helpful.
Yes. So I think that was very insightful. The 12-year-old that I was talking about,
Yes,
one of the social workers was with her during
right.
the admission process, and
Perfect.
the whole discussion like we are having now, that
Right.
happened in the principal's office.
Okay.
So the principal was more eager to absorb that child.
Okay.
So and I think Eteshri ma'am's point is well taken, that we can cut down the subjects so that the
Yes.
child
easily.
the same education can be broken down into chunks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So
See, whether it is primary or secondary, if you are going to give, you want to provide education, there are ways and means to do it. Only thing
Bilkul.
is you need additional tasks that comes
Yes.
into, that has to be taken up.
Correct.
right,
Yeah.
I can
right,
understand the school has lot of pressure,
right,
like completing all the requirements of their all activities and education and other co-curricular things, everything. So
correct,
that's an additional burden, which I think so, if just for 2 or 3 children in a classroom, it is feasible. Even we
right,
have counselors who can take up this additional responsibility of helping the child
Absolutely.
to
right,
learn or do an additional remedial class with the help of the school counselor.
right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Jasmina, I'm not coming to you. I know you are reluctant to speak today, which you are not usually. But I'm still going to pick on you, and I have a few questions for you. So now, so my other question is, have you any idea about inclusive schools?
Me? You're talking to me, Sanket?
This is for both of you.
Yes,
Eteshri,
Eteshri.
Yeah, inclusive schools, I am quite aware of there are, I have, because I have personally worked with getting children included in a regular schools, well, with a lot of fight, with a lot of tussle with the management, and getting one or two of the students in the same vicinity, who stays in the same vicinity, to get admitted in that school. And
So
after
my
that,
question
the
was,
work to come.
yeah, my question was more of schools which cater to both the differently able children as well as normal schools. So, for example, there's a school Prime Academy at Marol.
Hmm.
They have a separate floor for special education, but the school is for
Regular,
regular
like you have
students.
Yashodham in Goregaon.
Yashodham, yes.
Yashodham, the entire
Correct,
set
correct.
is
In fact, the
something
8-year-old that I was giving
Hmm.
the example of, he is at Yashodham.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So how many schools like these are there around, and any names you know of, like Yashodham, Prime Academy, I know of. I wish that parent could attend this, but somehow I don't think they are here amongst the other parents.
See, basically, there are no schools as such who are, we can say, there are students who are into a classroom with a child who has a specific disability. So it's in the way the Yashodham works, like one floor is dedicated to children with special needs. But that's,
Right.
I would not say it's an inclusive school.
Exactly.
I would
Because
not say that's an inclusive school.
exactly.
It's an integrated school. It's not an inclusive school.
So mine is an inclusive school.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, you can. I
So
think.
Rejoice?
Please highlight something, no, on your.
Yes, I was waiting. Rejoice International is an inclusive school in the true sense. So, well, yes, but I do not have children with severe disabilities. I have children with learning disabilities, and I have borderline autism children.
Okay.
Okay, now these are cases you're able to handle much more easily, even if your teacher is not trained in special education. Now, I hold a master's degree with special education, so it's much easier for me to train my teachers and guide them when the children of needs are there inside the classroom. But yes, Rejoice has never sent back a child because of a disability. Okay,
Right.
so we've tried and we are trying and we shall continue to support as much as we can.
So currently,
So-
the school models are either integrated schools like the ones we spoke of, or
Yes.
normal schools who are approachable and
Yeah,
ready
they
to
are
absorb.
taking
Yes.
they're
They're
ready
willing
to
to absorb.
absorb some children.
But not any particular inclusive school where I have seen at least schools abroad where the differently abled child is sitting with the normal children, but the school is not necessarily a normal school. It is known as a inclusive school. So there are
Yes, so I also
mixture.
have a wheelchair bound child, absolutely wheelchair bound child. I have a child with CP also. We
Right.
have made provisions for these children.
So,
there are-
the provisions are for the syllabus, for the infrastructure.
yes, everything. So there is an extra help the parent has provided with a help that takes the child to the washroom. We have DDs in the school that take the children and take care of the children whenever required. They are fed also by the DD.
Ma'am, we can't hear you, Aarti ma'am. I think you have been muted.
Hello.
Yeah.
So everything that the children would need
Okay, so
is provided. It's
is yours just a question, ma'am? Is your school accessible for wheelchair
yes,
users?
it is. Yes,
So
it is. We have lifts right
Even-
on the ground floor for
Even
every
if
floor.
are not accessible, they can be made, they can be modified. I know of a school, the child was included, the child has had muscular dystrophy. And since the child was very keen on going into a regular school, she was admitted. And the entire class suggested that this classroom should come down to the ground floor rather than the child coming up to the second floor.
Yes.
right,
So,
great.
so
Yes.
the
So
entire, till she
okay.
could manage education with muscular dystrophy,
Yes.
her entire classroom had always been on the ground floor.
Yes. Adya's mom, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask the question. It would be more interactive if you can. So Adya's mom is here with us. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Or Adya's dad?
Talk, no, what I don't know why that is happening.
Acha, so
Hello.
her, hello.
I don't know the conversation.
Okay, okay. So their
Hello.
question. Hello.
I already raised my questions.
Ha, ha.
I actually log in somewhat slightly late.
Okay, okay.
So I just listened that two school names were there, that primary school and another Yasodham.
Yes.
So for my daughter, I was asking where I can put my daughter.
Yeah, so I can just you want to tell your daughter's age and her intellectual level and
I got her tested. She's her tested learning ability is quite normal, but she's unable to stand her unable to stand her grip is not proper.
yes,
The grip is not proper in terms of picking up pen or holding pen and all.
right. So Adya's dad, do you mind if I just brief the speakers about Adya?
No issues. Yes, you can go.
Yeah. So I've seen Adya for quite some time now. I think close to 2 years. So we did a IQ testing for her, and the IQ has come normal. We did it from a psychologist, and now the parents are interested to know if there are any inclusive schools. She has good speech. She has good communication skills. Rather shy with strangers, but otherwise her speech is clear, so that any stranger could also understand. She has motor disability in that she ambulatory issues are there, so she would require a seating modification in schools, and she can walk for small distances with the help of an assistive device and a caregiver. So in CP, what we call GMFCS 4, So, so I think this question is for both Eteshri ma'am and Aarti ma'am. What could be done for her? And the parents' question is there any inclusive schools in and around Chakala, Andheri? Eteshri ma'am, you can.
Al-Hasnat is what they can try.
Sorry?
Al-Hasnat.
Al-Hasnat.
Hasnat. Yes, Hasnat. Hasnat does support children with needs.
Where is this school?
It's in Andheri East itself.
Okay. Al-Hasnat, you said.
Yes.
Is it some Urdu?
There is also a school called Tridha.
Yes, Tridha is also excellent.
Tridha is also
yes, Tridha is excellent.
Good with.
Okay. Where is Tridha?
Tridha also is in Andheri East.
Andheri East.
Yeah, you type out Tridha, you'll get on the Google.
Oh, okay. And Hasnat school also is in Andheri East.
Andheri East.
It's not a Urdu.
No. It's a regular English medium school.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Any parents who want to ask questions, they can just type in the chat window. You can stop me anytime. I don't want to be the only one speaking. So Jasmina, coming to you. Jasmina, you can unmute yourself. Jasmina, can you hear us? You need to unmute yourself, Jasmina.
I'm unmute now.
Yeah. So I wanted to, know your experience with schooling. We all know that you are a software engineer and you have faced all the challenges and reached this stage where you are now financially independent. You are working in an MNC. So what was your experience with education like?
I went to a special school. Adapt. Now know that Adapt. She is also from Adapt. She was formerly working with Adapt. So in a special school, you are always protected. So, and the exposure to the world is not there.
Okay.
But
That's one of the shortcomings of a special school.
Right.
yes. So when I entered college after my 10th, I was like feeling like I have come to an alien world. Because when I entered college, first 6 months, no one spoke to me. Means it was like I was sitting in just one corner and nobody wanted to speak to me. No, none of the professors, none of the teachers, none of the students. They didn't want to make friends with me, you know. So the effort has to come from me, you know, to make friends. So I had to think of ideas as to how will I make friends. Because I didn't want to sit in one corner and just go on with my life. I wanted to enjoy my college life, just like other students were enjoying, you know. So, so what I did is I got an idea. What was that idea was that I couldn't take down my notes because I'm not able to write on my own. So I couldn't take down my notes. So, so that time, what I did is I used to carry pen, paper, and carbon paper, you know, so that I can ask other students who were sitting next to me to write, you know. So this is the way I developed friendships, you know. So I used to literally force them to write so that they would start talking to me. So, so this was an effort which was made by me. So,
And how did you overcome the infrastructure problems, like when you had to be taken to another floor, especially in college?
initially, my classroom, I went to a very sensitive college. My college was very disabled sensitive college. You know, I went to St. Xavier's College. So they were um, already aware of the problems with disability because they were already having students with visually impaired students and wheelchair user students. They were already having, but still, when I was in college, at that time, the concept of inclusive education was not there. So, even the students were not aware of what is disability and how a disabled person should be accepted amongst them, you know. So, it was a difficult thing, but but talk to the management. So I had initially for the first year, what I did, my classes were on the first floor and second floor. But it was getting difficult because the lift in the college was very narrow, so the wheelchair was not going inside the lift. So what I did is next year in my class 12, I spoke to the management over there. I requested them to put all my lectures in one classroom on the ground floor. You know,
Right.
so that I don't have to be moved out of the classroom. And all the others can move out, but I don't have to be moved out. You know, so that's how they arrange for me classroom and on the ground floor. So whichever lecture I was supposed to attend were held in one classroom on the ground floor.
And would you ask your friends to carry you sometimes if the lectures were held some other floor?
Yes. So and but then there is a dignity, that is a matter of dignity, because you wouldn't like being a girl, you wouldn't like anybody to carry you up. So
Right.
it it was means I used to try and avoid it, but if not avoidable, then I would ask my friends to help me go up and down sometimes.
Hello.
Right. Correct.
Jasmina, I just wanted to add something. When you were in college, things were different, what they are right now. Things
Yes,
have changed to a great extent because people have
yes,
started accepting.
Yes.
Because
yes,
few of my students who have passed out to 10th and went to college like National College or St. Xavier's College, they were
yes,
very
yes.
open-heartedly accepted.
Even I was accepted. Actually, I was
No,
open.
not acceptance, not in the sense, not in the way you are saying. I am saying in the sense now the way people look at, like they stare at you, or they like have a very different kind of angle looking at you. Because some of my students had more locomotor issues, or some had stammering, some had drooling issues because of CP. But then still they have cleared their qualified. They are graduates now. They're working some at various places, and things have changed. What I had seen 20 years back and what I see now,
Yes,
the entire
definitely, definitely things have changed. When I was in college, there was not much awareness. Now there is awareness, you know.
yeah,
So it makes a lot of difference.
true.
Right. Okay. So coming to a conclusion, just before that, I have a question to Etashri ma'am. Therapy
Mhm.
versus from how do you make a shift from therapy versus education to therapy and education? So what I was asking is, I see. So as an example, I have seen a 21-year-old who is a locomotor disability and he uses crutches,
Hmm.
and for 21 years he has not been to a school, although his intelligence is normal and he speaks well. He can operate the mobile, he can operate a laptop if given. He intends to be a cameraman, but 21 years parents and the grandparent, the grandfather is very into therapy. They focused on making him walk, and this is a day-to-day experience for a physio also. Parents want
Yeah.
that their child walks and talks, and
Okay.
education is on the back of their minds.
Last week. Yeah.
So how do we bring about this shift in the parents that therapy and education should go hand in hand?
See, basically, we need to convince the parent. That's the role of a counselor. So we need to
Right.
convince them why education. So it's
Right.
not education, as I said, it's not education for to get a degree or anything. Education as for to sustain life.
Right.
As an independent person, what basic education he needs in order to survive in future. They will not be there with him for after next 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. But then the person has to sustain his own life. That's why education comes first. So therapy is a must. Fine, he has to be mobile, he has to be verbal. Absolutely agreed. But then this basic education, the 3 hours of what I'm talking about, helps him make him more self-reliant,
True.
to make him more sustainable in future when he becomes, say, independent, or when he lives by himself, or when he doesn't have that support what he is having right now with the grandparents and the parents.
Right.
And they will definitely be there when he will not have those people around him, when he has to sustain and survive. That's why the basic education is a must. So the counselor's role comes in there in order to help him or them realize the importance of education.
Right.
So
Jasmina,
he
you
can
wanted
be he
to
can
add?
be added on to an adult literacy program. At the
Okay.
age of 21, he can join the adult literacy program. He doesn't have to go ABC again.
Okay. So where are these programs? I mean,
His education can.
I want to describe whatever it is saying.
Yeah.
In 2 words. Education is empowerment, and without education, nothing can be done. Unless
Can I?
yes, Jasmina, point well taken. You are the personification of what you said.
Yeah.
Yes, Aarti ma'am, you had some.
I wanted to just add on to what Itishri was saying.
Yeah.
It's very true. But you know what happens is that let's take Jasmina. All right, her journey, a small video that would encourage families with children like hers, if it is put through. If she takes meetings on a 1:1, like a small gathering, and she shares her experiences, her parents share their viewpoint, her teachers share their viewpoint with these families, it will encourage them to move towards education. What happens is we need a live example to go by. We need to show our children, we need to show our families कि वो कर सकता है, ये भी कर सकता है.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. What lacks is this interaction, this encouragement, this pushing towards an agenda. This is missing in those homes. So
Right.
if this is given, I'm sure you will be able to make a difference.
Yes.
Jasmina can begin with that.
Yeah, Jasmina, you want to tell about your peer-to-peer counseling sessions that we have?
Yeah, I've been doing peer counseling since the past 6 months now. And Sangeet?
Yes. I think a bit
6
more.
months. So I've been encouraging parents, I've been encouraging the students, all those people. But you know what? The problem is that the moment you talk to the parents, they just sit back, step back, No, we don't want to do anything in education. We don't want to make a child independent. We want him to walk. He want her to walk first.
Yeah.
And do you think it is because the child has disability, so parents think that the child should be protected forever for his or her entire lifespan?
Yeah.
That's one of the glitches for the parents.
Right.
So we can have a separate session with the issues of parents.
Yes. So I remember Dr. Parveen Mulafuruz, who was the head of COH at Mahalakshmi. It was a pioneer hospital for cerebral palsy and for other disabilities. So she used to say, you shouldn't treat your children as glass. If they fall, they shatter. You make them more robust so that they can take all these shortcomings and they can face it and still stay strong.
Very true.
Very true. Very rightly said.
Yes. So I think, Jasmina, as you rightly said, parents need to come out of their shell and not think only about walking and talking. Okay. So I think any questions from anybody? Anybody has any questions?
There's nothing in the chat box, Sangeet. I can see your
Yeah. Ritesh had a comment, but I didn't see any question. Ritesh, you had any question? Ritesh?
You don't see him.
I think he's typing.
He's typing?
He's typing.
Yeah, just give him 1 minute.
So, yes, it was... okay, Ritesh doesn't have any question. Yes. So I think in conclusion, I think this was a great session, an eye opener for all of us. We had inputs from both ends, from a principal of a normal school and a special experienced special educator. And we also had Jasmina Khanna, who was supposed to be one of the speakers, but of course she spoke in the end and she hit the nail, you know. Yes, so I think in conclusion, any takeaway message from each of the speakers, if it would be great.
I would say that you, as parents of children with needs, if it means knocking every door to get your child into a school, you need to knock it. You cannot have, you know, other people's experiences and other people's opinions rule your judgment or rule your action. So you try for yourself that go approach the school, figure out if the school is ready to accept your child or not.
Right. Be
I
persuasive.
think, yes, be persuasive. It works. You never know. You may have just the right school head who will be willing to take you in, who will be willing to help you all the way. So that
Right.
one chance should be given. That
True.
one chance should be given.
True.
Yeah.
Niteshri ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I am not too sure about the so-called severely handicapping conditions.
Yes,
where the child might have difficulty accommodating, adjusting, but those who can should be given a chance.
Absolutely.
Right.
Can should be given a chance. That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
And
I second it.
I think the equality should come in the opportunity.
Absolutely.
The outcomes may differ,
Yes,
but at least the opportunity should be equal for all.
Yeah, very true.
Yes. Jasmina?
I think even if education is not possible, skill can be developed and the child can be made independent in some way. You know, every child has got a skill that can be developed, and in some way it can be made into a financial independence. You know, so
Yes.
that skill should be developed.
Yes. With regards to your point, RK comes to mind, Ramakrishnan. He is a foot painter. He has dystonia, so he uses a wheelchair, but he is a foot painter. So his big toe and his second toe work on the right leg, if I'm not mistaken. And he has to give some 15 to 20 paintings to the Hand, Foot, Mouth Painting Association. He earns his living through those paintings. And he's financially independent. He lives with his caregiver. He has sisters, but he lives with his caregiver. So I think, like Jasmina said, you know, he developed that skill of his, and now it is paying off for him. Made him independent. So yes. Okay. Oh wow, Ritesh has a blog. So we would love to visit your blog, Ritesh. Thank you. I'm guessing it's your blog. Okay. So I think thank you to all the speakers for such a wonderful, insightful session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
inviting. For accepting in last moment. We called you at the last moment.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely not. It's an honor.
And any help we need with regards to education, we know where to
absolutely
call.
Without any hesitation, please feel free to connect.
Same with Itashri ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jasmina.
Yes, and Jasmina, thank you for all your inputs. So anyways, yes, so I think we'll conclude the session. Call it a day. Thank you everyone. Thank you all the participants for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.